Raul Bat, Muisar, Raul Bat. Okay, we are here. We are here today. We're back again, as usual. We're back every Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 9. We have our discussions. We have our, our build sessions on Wu-Sabat and the importance of Wu-Sabat. So I welcome everyone. Kabul, Muisar, welcome family. For those of you who are part of the Sabian Muisar, the Sabian Nation, Takwam, I welcome all. I welcome all visitors. For those who are going to build with us live, and for those who are going to watch the recording, I welcome you all. And for those of you who watch our recordings, join us live on a Tuesday. We welcome all, to talk and have these discussions. This is how we all benefit. This is how we all grow. Remember, our ultimate goal is a meeting of the minds, for us to all come to a common conclusion on the essence of what we teach at Wu-Sabat, so that we can begin to start doing things collectively together for the benefit of all. So I can't stress that enough. So it's really important, Now, let's get started. Now, for those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Teptu Re'e, and I've been over a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Panabab Yananan, also known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture we identify as Wu-Sabat, also known as Wu-Nawab, which stands for those who make decisions based on sound right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, and based on the wisdom of the Hutri. In essence, what that means is our ancestors lived in harmony with natural nature. Our ancestors lived in harmony with natural nature. And we argue that the challenges that Black people are facing and have been facing within the last 500 years under racism, white supremacy, and within the last 6,000 years is due to the fact that we got away from our original culture and being in harmony with nature itself. Today, people call it animism. Today, people call it animism. This was the origins of Wu-Sabat. It was about acknowledging the spiritual forces, the creation forces of nature, and being one with those forces. And our culture was based around this. And this is and we lived a harmonious life until unfortunately we got invaded and we started adapting foreign cultures, and we've been on a downward spiral ever since. And we got away from making decisions away from based on sound reasoning. And we make decisions now based on our lusts, our desires, our fears, our hopes, our ambitions, our belief systems. And it's been killing us. And so I'm just one of many students around the world who has been trying to educate people about our culture, Wu-Sabat. This is something the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, has been trying to do for 50 some odd years. And it's a challenge, but hey, this is our goal. I always like to make a disclaimer. I'm not above making mistakes. So if I do make any mistakes, please do not hesitate to correct me, because I have no problem in correcting myself, because I do see my mistakes when I watch my videos over. So they do exist. But I do my best. So that's I think the best we can ask for anyone is, and I do strive to be better, and I hope we all can, strive to be better. That's a huge thing for us. So with that being said, we go over every week. We do our discussions. We go over our principles of our culture, Wu-Sabat, our core principles. And let's see if I can bring them up real quick. And here's our core principles. So for those of you guys who've been watching our discussions, you guys are familiar with our core principles. I always stress it is imperative that everyone really studies the core principles of what our culture is about. Just about all our lectures and discussions are based around our core principles, because our core principles is about, how we live, the culture we live, and it is imperative. And for those individuals who are new to us and new to what we teach, it's imperative that you understand our core principles, why we try to go over it every week for clarity. So, again, a lot of people are not familiar with our culture. And so this kind of gives them, I guess a introduction, so to speak, into what the culture is about. So principle number one is Ashak, and Ashak stands for divine love, or what we say, the power of love. We did a discussion on that, so I'm always telling people to watch that lecture. If you have not seen it, definitely watch it. And I always say, even if you have seen it, we highly recommend watching our lectures at least 3 times. At least 3 times, we say. Principle number 2 is resurrection. Resurrection is about us becoming goddesses and gods, again, by opening our third eye, as our ancestors once had. And we did discussions on that, so definitely check those lectures out. Principle number 3 is the wisdom of the Hutri and Ma'at. The Hutri stands for our divine mind, and Ma'at stands for order. Our culture was based on order, and we did lectures on that. So definitely check those discussions out. Principle number 4 is relationships. As an African people, we always live of, for, and by each other. This is the principle of our way of doing things. We're not capitalists. We're not socialists. We're not communists. We're not any of those isms that the European world or the Western world has pushed on us. And we argue it's better for us to get back to the cultures that work for us. So we did a lecture on that. So highly definitely check that out. Principle number 5 is morphic resonance / matrix. Morphic resonance stands for sound, color, frequency, tones, vibrations. It's the energies that grew existence, and matrices are the manifestations of those energies. Okay. Principle number 6 is Leviathan. Leviathan is what we're at war with. Leviathan stands for moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture. We did lectures on that, so definitely check that out. Principle number 7 is soul / spirit. Your soul is your emotional force, and your spirit is your life force. We did a lecture on that, so highly, definitely check that out. Principle number 8 is health. First key to health is a positive mind. As melanated people, we require a lot of sunlight. So that's extremely important. Your body's 70% water, so we definitely say a lot of water. Fasting, we recommend fasting at least once or twice a week. Herbal diet, something Dr. Sabi has taught us about. Exercise, rhythmic breathing, meditation, concentration, prayer, and chanting. And we always say health is not just physical, but it's also spiritual. Health is not physical, but it's also spiritual. We argue our people are challenged because of health, because they forgot this science. They forgot that you can't have one without the other. So we did a lecture on that. So highly definitely check that lecture out. And principle number 9 is acknowledgement of the creative force. Pa'ut. The word we use is pa'ut, and it's the creative force itself. And that's, how we call it. Well, that's one of the ancient names of our ancestors, Pa'ut. And creation is based on what we call the Smat, based on cycles, ever-changing cycles within nature itself. And the energies that grow nature is achak, and it translates to ether. It's one of the reasons why they called us the Ethiopian people. The Greeks coined that. And they understood, because we taught it, that we're the children that grew with creation, that we're the ones that came with creation, which is this 9 ether energy force. So those are, key points to understanding our principles. Now, goals. As Sabians, we have 3 primary goals. Goal number 1 is to raise the self. Goal number 2 is to fight Leviathan. And goal number 3 is the work to build Sabbatia. Now, in goal number 1, in raising the self, we teach that one must become born again, as the Christians teach, by learning the culture of Wu-Sabat and to live it, to give up your old ways for the new ways. This is the only way we're going to begin to fix our issues, is to give up the cultures that has harmed us and get back to the cultures that allowed us to rule as a people. In so doing, it's imperative that you correct your name. One of the first things you do is to correct your name, to choose a Sabian name, make it known to all. Correct how you dress, right? We talk about how you dress, how you look, how you present yourself. That is imperative. That's not to say that you don't wear Western clothes, because we're in the Western world, but to begin to identify more of your cultural clothing, right? Also, goal is to speak the language. Our language is Sabaean. That is imperative, that we begin to speak the language. This is the basis of all people. Every people, who has a culture, have a language. So we can't stress that enough. Also, you must study our doctrine every day, which builds your sound right reasoning skills. This is what's going to help in your decision-making abilities, is by constantly studying our doctrine. That's why I do these lectures every week, to help people in their comprehension in the doctrine and our principles, and so it's imperative that you do that. This is what's going to help in your decision-making skills, as we always talk about. And we also say you must practice and master our daily rituals to turn yourself inside out. That is what it's all about. As far as opening up your third eye, this gives you the ability to learn how to make contact with your ancestors, as we once used to know how to do, and we forgot. And so it's the spiritual practices that one must learn to master. That is imperative. And the key to everything is you must always be positive. You must always be positive. I can't stress that enough. Now, principle number 2 is, goal number 2, excuse me. As a Sabian is the fight. We're at war with Leviathan. Those are the adverse forces that has been giving us hell on this planet since we've been here for the last 6,000 years. In that fight is the work to free Panda Bab Yunanin, the disagreeable ones that kidnapped him, and we're highly fighting for his liberation. For the master teachers, innocent of all the disagreeable things that people have accused him of. It's pretty yucky. In that fight is promote Wu-Sabat. This is how we fight Leviathan, by promoting Wu-Sabat. For those who have the ability to become student teachers, we highly recommend it. And never forget, our biggest fight is fighting the 6 strongest weapons of Leviathan, which is ignorance, our fears, ego, our anger, our lust/desires, and lies/deceptions. We got to get these negative attributes out of us, And the last goal is the work to build Sabbati. We must get our land back, guys. We must build our own land and get our own land, so we can really begin to live our culture. In so doing, we work to support each other in business. We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture. We must set up a landing zone for Panatharu in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that would be supported by an African government. And Ashuk is the key to accomplish all our goals. Now, what does it mean to be a Sabian? A Sabian is someone who's thoughtful and cares, someone who is helpful and honest, someone who is responsible and hardworking, someone who demands justice and honorable, someone who is righteous and humble, someone who is positive and cheerful, someone who is loving and peaceful, someone who is kind and considerate, and someone who is neat, clean, and orderly. This is our moral code, guys. This is who we are, and we must get back to being this. So that's why we stress this. Now, our purpose as a being is to liberate ourselves from adverse forces. This is what we should be focusing on each and every day. One, you must take action each and every day to free yourself from 60 spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by those spirit forces. Number two, acknowledge and fight 6 ether from promoting capitalism, the gay agenda, miscegenation, the so-called equality of the races, and racism and white supremacy. And number 3, learn, live by, and promote the laws/rules of natural nature. And each one, teach one, guys. Each one, teach one. Word of advice: do not judge this doctrine by watching the behavior of Panabab United nor his students. Judge this doctrine by the effectiveness of the information, aka affirmation, that you personally put to practical use. This doctrine is based on self-authentication. Know that we are not preachers, but teachers who are dedicated to answering questions until there's a meeting of the minds between teacher and student, who then can work in unity, which is the only solution to our problems. Quote, what you do for yourself in kind depends on what you think of yourself in kind. What you think of yourself in kind depends on what you know of yourself in kind. And what you know of yourself in kind depends on what you was taught and by whom of yourself in kind. Another quote, until the lion have their historians, the hunter will always be the hero. And next, the negative mind talks of what it can't and will not do for self and kind, always complaining about who they don't like or trust, whereas the positive mind always maintains the peace by not complaining about that in which they do not like, but focus on finding solutions to their problems, never allowing obstacles to get in their way, guys. Do not allow obstacles to get in our way. We must overcome all adversity. And I know we're dealing with a lot of adversity, but this is the hand we're dealt, and we got to overcome it. It's just the reality of life. Okay, so in today's discussion, we are talking about the Right Knowledge Scrolls. Our Right Knowledge Scrolls. These are a series of books that the master teacher had put out that we're going to be covering today. So it was a series of a 4-part series. Series number 1, book 1 was called What is NoopooH? This is book 1. What is NoopooH? Okay. So these books were put out, I believe, in 2001. This is book 2. My computer is running a little bit slow, but yes, these books were put out in 2001. These are revised editions. Okay, revised editions. Here's book number 2, the Right Knowledge series. This is called Right Knowledge. So book 2 is actually called Right Knowledge. So book 1 was called What is NoopooH? And book 2 is called The Right Knowledge. And then you have book 3. Book 3 of the series is called Our True Roots. Our True Roots, book 3. And book 4 is called Breaking the Spell on the Blacks. This is book 4. Breaking the Spell on the Blacks. Okay. So these 4 particular books, like I said, they came out in around the year 2001 or so. And these are revised editions. This information was revised from a series of books that came out in 1992, 93, 94. It's a series of Right Knowledge Scrolls. And these books were an updated version of those particular books. And all of these books were an updated version, a revised version of a series of books that came out. The first books the master teacher put out, which called the Bible Interpretations and Explanations, Part 1 and Part 2, that came out in 1967 and 1968. And then another series of books called the Nine Bowl series, which was 4 parts, Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, I did lectures on that. We did discussions on the Nine Bowl series. So I highly recommend studying those lectures as much as we're going to talk about studying these books. It is imperative. Now, why do I stress this? I stress this because I think when studying these particular books that were put out, these years ago, they set the standard for helping people comprehend our current doctrine, because our current books that we have, which is called the Actual Facts series of books, and the Master Secrets and the Patarak series of books, they are an update from these books. They're update from these books. And I really believe that in studying these books helps comprehending the new books even more, even better. So say if you're just studying the new stuff, which is nothing wrong with that, but if you want to get a greater comprehension and what the new books are saying and trying to explain in a in-depth way, then I highly recommend looking at the information we put out before them and then review the new data. Because as you look at the new data, you can see the changes, you can see the upgrades, you can see the growths. It makes for understanding our doctrine that much more. Because as we say, each one teach one. And since we highly recommend individuals to spread this information, the better you comprehend it, and it helps in becoming a better teacher of this information. It helps to spread this information to your family, your friends, your loved ones, and those people who need it. All of our people need this doctrine. And the better we are teachers at it, the better we would be able to influence people in the positive. And that's why we stress this. So I can't say this enough. So this is why, I wanted to go over these particular books and the importance of these books. It's a lot of information. All I can do is paraphrase, because I can't go through 4 books in the time frame that we have. It's just too much. It's just too much information. But I just want to paraphrase what these books are about and get into some of the significance of these particular books, the importance of them. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to dive into this book and go into some of these concepts. Now, when you look in the beginning of this, and I've went over this numerous of times before in these books for those who follow our discussions. Let's see. Okay, so we have the author's note, and I like to go over the first paragraph of the author's note. It talks about the master teacher and his purpose, right? The master teacher and his purpose. He goes in, and it's imperative that we really know this inside and out. So I do like to talk about it a lot. And so we start here. It says, I have devoted my visit to this planet to the resurrection of the mentally dead, which I affectionately refer to as mummies. Never did I know that the evil one had done such a great job with these people, both mentally and physically, as to have them hate self and kind. My greatest dilemma and hindrance has been the black devil born amongst you. and by you, married to you, socializing with you, praying in the same sacred houses of worship as you. But secretly, they have a spiritual pact with the devil, which makes it near impossible for them to totally surrender to NoopooH. But for the few chosen, for the many called, I sift to find those beings that wish to become one with the Supreme in all. Okay, so this is what he's looking for. That's the resurrection, right? So I, the Supreme Grand Hierophant, Amun Nibu Re'e Achata, as I am known throughout the mystical schools, the incarnation of Tahuti, thought, student of the great tomb known as Atum Re, the first point of resurrection from ignorance to the right knowledge, the right wisdom, and the right understanding. I have blended in with each of the religions most interesting to my people. I have lived as one of them, practiced as one of them, in order to reveal the misconceptions of these doctrines that have plagued and diseased the minds of my people. Okay. And so he sets the standard for, what his mission was about, what his goals are, his objectives. Now, guys, unfortunately, just so you know, these books are not in print anymore because, like I said, we have a whole new series of books, which is the actual facts, the Pataraks, and the Master Secrets, as well as spiritual readings. And so the only way you can get these particular books, you have to download them. I always tell people is that website Scribes. A lot of people have uploaded our books onto that website, so you can access those books for free. You can download them for free to get access to these books, because, like I said, they're not in reprint. So for I say, it's not about reading our books; it's about studying our books, because the ultimate goal is for us to get to the point where we're correcting our decisions. The whole point is our lives supposed to be better. And our lives are only going to be better when we're making decisions that create the conditions for our lifestyles to be better. And this is the purpose of our doctrine. This is the purpose of having the right knowledge, which allows you to make better decisions, the right type of decisions, sound decisions, reasonable decisions. Because, again, our people around the globe, as Black African people, woolly-haired children, are making decisions that are keeping them in subjection. We're under the rulership of foreigners. And we're going to continue to be under the rulership of foreigners, because all of the knowledge we know we get from the foreigners, and they're not going to teach you anything to rule yourself. This is the one doctrine that teaches all African people around the globe how we can rule ourselves. And remember, it starts with our first principle that we talked about. It starts with our first principle that we talk about, which is Ashak, divine love. So definitely, guys, it is imperative you guys watch that lecture we did on this principle, because everything starts there. Because this has been the biggest challenge with our people. The only reason why we have even gotten into our situation is because of our division. We have been fighting each other for 6,000 years, a divided people. And as everyone knows, a divided people will always fall, right? A divided people cannot stand. They will always fall victim. And the only way we're going to unite is if we can all begin to agree with each other. And this is what the purpose of right knowledge is, to help us come to the same conclusions. And it starts with divine love, because we judge each other harshly, too harshly. And we judge each other. We judge each other based on the negative mind, and not in the power of love. Overstanding the conditions that we are. We make a lot of bad decisions, and we cause a lot of hurt and pain to each other. But we have to understand there are conditions that allow us, that put us in that situation. And so our job is to try to help explain these conditions, like Leviathan. So we say here in this book, first part that this particular book goes into, and we're going to get into it, Leviathan is also a term used when referring to a serpent, yet It's also used when referring to the spell of sleep that the Egyptians called Imam, which is the devourer. Leviathan is the great serpent or dragon mentioned in the book of Revelations, chapter 12, guys. So if you get the book of Revelations, you read chapter 12, verse 7, it says, "And there was a battle in the skies. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and fought his angels," right? And so this is, is in the Bible, and this dragon, this serpent creature is also called Leviathan, and it's a spirit force. It's a negative spirit force. So he goes on to say, let's see, that's just intro. We don't need to go into that, but let's start here. Says, what is NoopooH? Answer: NoopooH is the science of sound right reasoning, and its followers are the sons and daughters of sound right reason. Belief is ignorance. Belief is to ignore the facts intentionally or ignorantly. Also, NoopooH is right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding. If one has to believe, it means he or she does not know. And if one does not know, that is ignorance. Hence, belief is ignorance, and religious beliefs without the facts is ignorance. So demand that anyone attempting to impose upon you their religious beliefs to produce the facts. If you attempt to convert me to a Mohammedan faith, I, for my own soul's sake, have to see, read, and touch the original Quran. A Mohammedan will say that they have the oldest Quran. However, oldest doesn't mean original. They destroyed the originals. They don't have them. This would apply also to any other religion and any other scriptures. The most deceptive word in religion is the word believe or belief, because a person can believe anything, and this means that a person can believe and be 100% wrong. But knowledge is knowing, and knowledge is correct information. To know gives one confidence, but belief infers doubt. Knowledge can be checked out by one or more of three tests, which is: one is experience, two is evidence, and three is reason. Knowledge is always logical and it reasons out. The first step to NoopooH is right knowledge, which will pass any one of the three tests that is practical for knowledge given. One cannot always use the experience test because the experience test is not practical for knowledge. The evidence and reason tests are those tests which are most often practical. Yet, NoopooH is the science of experience, evidence, and reason, because non-ether is the power of reason. Non-ether by nature is the male living being and the female living being spirit forces of black people, Nubians, or the new beings of our black power magic. There is an evil hypnotic spell called Imam or Leviathan that was cast upon blacks everywhere. It is a spell of sleep of the conscious mind, also referred to as a state of amnesia. You forgot who you are, the real ancient Tamarians, right? And this is something that we've been teaching for the longest. Our people must remember who we are. We must remember our origins. We must remember our ways, our cultures, our principles that we live by. We talk about animism, guys, because this is something that people are familiar with today. Animism, right? And what is animism? Animism is a principle that they identify African culture with, meaning that all of existence is animated, living energy. Living energy. Doesn't matter. Rocks, birds, plants, trees, everything in nature had a life force to it. And what's interesting about it, because they used to make fun of us about being animist, it's been authenticated or proven through quantum mechanics. Because what did quantum physics teach Caucasian people? Quantum physics taught Caucasians that all of existence is energy based. Every rock, every tree, every anything within nature is composed of energy, what they call atoms, protons, electrons, neutrons. Everything is energy based, and so people don't realize that as much fun as they try to make of our culture of animism, it's been authenticated through quantum mechanics that the Caucasians figured out in the early 1900s. Albert Einstein and them guys figured that stuff out. And so they realized that everything in existence is based on energy. Carl Sagan would talk about that a lot. But they don't want to give credit to us as Africans that we always taught that all of existence is based on energy. Now, here's the thing. As Africans, we knew this, but we lost our reasonability. We used to have sound reasonability where we understood how to be in harmony with the different types of energies within existence. This is where our people in Africa who are still into animism, this is where they've gone wrong. They've lost contact with those spirit forces, with those energy forces. We used to be at one with them. And the key to being in harmony with these spirit energies is the opening of our third eye. Our third eye used to be open, meaning we had a spiritual insight. We had the ability to see into the realm of these energies, to perceive these energies. Now we're not. Our senses have been dulled due to foreign cultures, due to mixing of genetics. Our bodies have the ability to do it, but because we've got away from our original way of doing things, our senses, our spiritual senses became dull. And it happens to everyone. And the most notable thing, it happens to you when people get older. As people get older, their senses get dull, right? The eyesight basically begins to wane. Their hearing begins to wane. Their body movements, older people move slower because their senses are degrading. Well, this is what happened to our spiritual senses. They degraded, and we forgot how to redevelop them. They can be redeveloped. We just lost, we just forgot the rituals and the techniques, the exercises we used to do for their development. And that's what this information that we teach, that the master teacher has been teaching us, that's what this is all about. It's about us re-educating on how to develop ourselves spiritually. So he goes on to say, the scientific name of nine ether will be disclosed in the science NoopooH. And that scientific name we talked about, I've talked about it before. The master teacher, introduced it to us. And if I thought about it, I would have had it pulled up already. But let's see if I can find. We have the master secrets. Let's see if I can pull this up. So this is the master secret. So for those who do not know, this is some of our newer books that came out. And this is what I meant by the old books introduce certain concepts where the new books go into these concepts even more in depth, giving us more data, more information about things that we would teach. And so it says right here in paragraph 89, NoopooH or Wu Nawap, Nawapians or Wu Nawap, and the proper and scientific attribute of sound right reason is in fact NoopooH. That's why I use the name. And so that name that I was just reading, or I was just reading about the in this particular book, that let's see, the scientific name of nine ether will be disclosed in the science NoopooH, and that scientific name is NoopooH. We also call it, and we had another book called the proof, for those who may be familiar with it, and it's also called Noon. So as you can see in here, it says the proper and scientific attribute of sound right reason is in fact NoopooH. So the scientific name of Wu-Nawap is the word NoopooH. But there's another word also. It's also NoopooH and Noon. And like I said, it's in another book that we go into that. And so I only bring this up because this is a new book. Okay, this is the Master Secret. All right, this is a new book, Master Secret, the Ultimate Reality Series number 12. And I was reading the older book. Okay, and now I was just trying to show how the old and the new correlate. The old and the new correlate, you know, and there's a lot of correlations between what we were saying before versus what we're teaching now. And I say it truly helps, honestly, if you're looking at some of the things we used to say and then you compare it to what we're saying now. One, you'll see the elevation of the knowledge, because the master teacher, remember in the beginning of this book, it says he's been dedicated to the resurrection of the mentally dead. He's resurrecting our minds. He's increasing our level of intelligence. He's increasing our level of knowledge and awareness. And it was a gradual thing, unfortunately, because you got to keep in mind, the master's been teaching this for 50 years. That takes a lot of patience, a lot of dedication of an individual to stay in an educational course for that length of time. But the rewards of our ultimate achievement is just phenomenal, because remember, our goal is liberation, guys. Our goal is liberation from adverse forces. We're trying to get from under the dependency of foreigners that we're relying on for our livelihood. And we shouldn't. But the only way we're going to come out of it is by correcting our decisions. And the only way you're going to correct your decisions is by making decisions based on sound right reasoning, understanding the power within ourselves. We have power. We know that the Caucasian, the Mukasu, he has military power. And we don't have the military power to equal him. But what we do have is spiritual power. And I can assure you, spiritual power is way more powerful than their military power. The goal is for us to begin to understand the difference. And that's what this doctrine is trying to educate us about. Because yes, we may be at a disadvantage to the Caucasian and all his materials that he has, but we still have our soul force if you choose not to sell it. If you choose not to sell it, if you choose not to sell your soul force to the disagreeable ones, then you can develop your soul power, your black power, or what we call your black magic power. So he goes on to say here, he says that 9 ether forces first visit the minds of their posterity, which is descendants, because they know that nothing can be done right unless the mind is right. The mind cannot be right unless it has accepted the right knowledge. You are out of your mind, and in his mind, the mind of the Mukasu, guys, you all share in a mental reservoir which vibrates on the 4th density. Everybody partakes of the mental plane, intellect, ideas, creation, etc. You vibrate on the 3rd density and have your own portion of, okay, hold on. My computer is running slow for some odd reason. All right, let's see. It says here, you vibrate on the 3rd density and have your own portion of it called my mind, or that which is mine. But it is all one. That is why there are really no new ideas or no new thoughts or ideas. There are only extensions of previous ideas because they all come from the same source or mental reservoir. Now, guys, okay, so we've talked about this many before. It's important to go to the SMAT circle. So we're right here in the 3rd density. Right here, it says 3 ether represents the 3rd density. When you tapping into the mental plane, you're moving into the 4th density. Okay. And this is when the minds are operating from. It's a higher, our minds are connected to a higher density realm, but our is connected to it, but our focus is only on the third density. And this is what's bounding us to this realm. As we've said before, existence is based on 9 different density levels, and the highest density level is 9 ether density level, a 9 ether realm. And we come from that 9 ether realm, all Black, African, woolly haired people all over the globe. And you have beings existing on all of these density levels. We talked about this the other week. And you have the ability to make contact with beings. So as Africans, because we always talked about, we have the ability to make contact with our ancestors. But the problem is we forgot how to do it. We lost our spiritual knowledge, and our minds are locked into the third density. But our minds are connected to the fourth density. That's what I was reading. Our minds are connected to the fourth density, but because we lost our spiritual knowledge, we don't know how to make contact anymore. And this is what our doctrine is trying its best to educate us about. How to make contact with, these higher densities again. This is what we're striving, to regain this knowledge, to as I say, make contact. So let's go back here. So as it says, this is so important that you guys get this point that we say right here. You are out of your mind and in his mind. We talk about the Caucasian mind, the Western mind. This is how all our people think. We're trapped in their world. As the master teacher always said, we're locked into person, places, and things. Their persons, their places, and their things. They got us locked on a third density. And this is all we think about. We don't even acknowledge the existence of other realms. We used to know this. In African culture, it always talks about making contact with their ancestors, but no one wants to talk. Well, where are these ancestors at? They are, if they exist, they have a location. It's not fake. It's very real. It's not fake. It's very real. This knowledge is very real. Excuse me. It's very real. Unlike religion. Religion dealt with belief systems. We're dealing with facts. And you can prove what we're saying to yourself by doing the spiritual work. You can prove the existence of the other realms. You just have to put the time in it. That's why I say in our core principles, I go over this. Let's see. In our core principles, when you go down to here, we have the basics, the statement. This doctrine is based on self-authentication. You have the power to authenticate everything the master teacher has been teaching by learning to develop yourself spiritually, learning, make contact with your ancestors, and getting access to our history and origins. We have those abilities. So you don't have to believe anything we're teaching. The goal is to learn how to experience it yourself. That's why I make this statement. That's why I say, judge this doctrine by the effectiveness of the information, aka information, that you personally put to practical use. Because I'm saying, do not judge this doctrine. The key word here, do not judge this doctrine by watching the behavior of Panabab Yanana nor his students. Don't confuse the doctrine with an individual. You judge an individual based on the individual. You judge our doctrine based on our doctrine. Don't confuse the two. That's what this statement says. So, if you're given a book on how to play soccer and you never take the time out to study the game, to actually practice and play, then you can't complain about soccer and say it's this and it's that and it's this and that if you never even took the time out to learn. And I bring this up, often because this is what people do. And sadly, people do this. This is that warped kind of judgment. This is that, we lost our sound reasoning. This is why we make statements like that. We say things that are not reasonable and intelligent, unfortunately. So it goes on to say here, it's talking about six ether. What effects does six ether have on Negroes? Six ether and ghosts, which is ghost spirit forces, causes Negroes, which ties into the word necro, which is Greek for dead, or negra, omega, Latin and Greek for black, death, to commit suicide. Because that is just what people are doing when they run up against the adverse forces with sticks and stones, while their enemy has stealth bombers and tanks with machine guns blazing. Six ether and ghosts activate people's minds foolishly to provoke their enemy and their helpers to shoot them down. So six ether and ghosts will have innocent blood to subsist off. So that those two spirit forces, six ether and ghosts, will get stronger in the atmosphere and maintain enemies' economic strength and maintain the enemy's economic strength, religion, and prolong their dominance. They are trying to incite race riots to have a justified reason for killing you. For example, there are incidents where white cops are abusing, beating, and nearly killing blacks for presupposed reasons. That happens all the time, that now they are showing them on TV on what seems to be on a regular basis. Now, this is something that, again, like I said, this book came out in 2001, and now look at 2022 and see all the racial incidents that happened over that 20-year span. You know, all of this racial upheaval and and this talk of a civil war in America, and this big racial divides. And this is another foresight the master, was trying to let us know. That's why we call him the guide, the one who guides, the one who warns, the warner. Because he's been warning us about the conditions here. He's been warning us about, what is the things that is happening to us, the things that did happen to us, and the things that are about to happen to us. Well, I think we have some spam in our chat. Yeah. So spam, I gotta look into that. I've been noticing that, guys. If you guys notice any kind of spam in our chat, people putting these weird messages. Now they putting this weird messages. They somehow connecting to people's live chats and putting spams in them. It's crazy that people would create things like this. Yeah, but I've seen this before. It's pretty yucky, but All right, well, let's keep going. Okay. So now he was talking about in this other section I was reading about. It's pretty crazy. All right, so he was talking about what do we do against these adverse forces? So the question came up, the Mukasu, who's our adversary, and all of the abuse we get from him. It says, question, is there anything wrong with violence, since it seems that being forceful is the only way to get a response? The answer, there's nothing wrong with violence for liberty and equality if you have a chance to win. But there is no chance to win without 9 ether spirit forces, or we call black magic, to counteract the adverse forces and show you the way to liberty and equality among self and kind. And you cannot see the way until the mind's eye is open, guys. You see this? You cannot see the way until the mind's eye is open. The soul, the God, read the many scrolls distributed by the ancient Egyptian order. Its principles will open the mind's eye. And this is what we've been teaching, how to open your third eye. guys, because there's no way we're gonna fight this disagreeable, these demons, and our spiritual abilities haven't been restored. Our spiritual knowledge hasn't been restored. There's no way. Yeah, you're right, Eating off 6 ether is in the chat. But that's the nature of 6 ether. 6 ether always tries to disrupt 9 ether. That's just what it does. To put your mind on what it's trying to do is take your mind off of what we're doing and to put your mind on them. The Mukasu always want to be the head of the show. He always wants, to be in our face. He always want us to pay attention to them. They hate when we do our own thing and ignore them. Guys, they hate that, and that is how you deal with them. Ignore them and focus on us. Let's focus on us. And so now let's see. So I hope you guys got that, because that's a very important point. I can't stress that enough. The only way to fight these demons is we must restore our third eye. Guys, we have so many books the master teacher put out on how to do it. One of the best books, and I'll show you this right here. One of the best books the master teacher put out is this one right here, on opening the third eye and learning to understand the principles of the third eye. I'm waiting for the file. Here it is. This book right here, The 9 Principles of the Human Being. It's called The 9 Principles of the Human Being. And this whole book is dedicated to trying to teach one how to open the third eye by activating what we call your chakras or your energy centers. Okay. And it goes into a diagram here and things of that nature. And so my point is that we put out a lot of information on this subject matter. The master teacher, this is one of many books that we put out on this subject matter to try to educate people on opening their third eye. We also put out a book I recommend a lot that goes into that. It's called The Science of Healing, and we talk about that book quite often because of that type of information. But I'm just trying to explain to you guys the significance and importance of this stuff, because I don't know how to say it. I don't know how many ways to say that we are at a loss if we don't learn to develop ourselves spiritually against these forces. We're dealing with a lot of negative energy, a lot of negative forces. And the only way to counteract that is through our positive spiritual forces. 9 is the positive, 6 is the negative, right? 9 is the positive, 6 is the negative. The goal of 6 is to turn everything that is 9 into 6. The goal of 6 ether forces is to take 9 ether, those who are up 9, and turn it into 6. That's what the Mukasu did when they got access to our knowledge in ancient Kemet. When they got access to our knowledge, like the Greeks, they took 9 knowledge and turned it into 6 knowledge. And this is why the master teacher called himself the son of righteousness. The son of righteousness. What that meant, was a terminology that comes out of the Bible. In the book of Malachi, chapter 4, the son of righteousness comes with healing in his wings. And what that meant was the son of righteousness was able to take 6 ether knowledge and turn it back into 9 knowledge. That's what the son of righteousness was able to do. Take that which is 6 and turn it back into 9, because 6 got their doctrine from 9. That's why you hear me bring up the word nous. The Greeks called it nous, and that was a part of our culture that talked about sound reasoning. Look the word up. I talk about it all the time. They took noon. Our culture was called noon. they change the name. They love Mukasa love changing people's names because that alters your tone, your vibration, your morphic frequency. So they always change your names because that knocks you out of your realm. Okay, it disconnects you from your vibrations. That's why they changing people's names. That's a science they use. That's a spiritual science that they overstood that our people have yet to comprehend the importance of names, tones, vibrations, because all of existence is based on that. Yeah, thanks, Jacob. If you reported it, it needs to be reported. The spam, you know. And so, but getting back now, this is another book, The Science of Healing, that goes into what I was saying about the opening of the third eye, right? Uh, we have whole sections again. You have right here the third eye, this symbol, this diagram right here. Okay. And so in this particular book, the master teacher goes into it, very intently, showing the difference in the energies of developing ourselves, And so we have another book, Is There Life After Death? We have another book, What is Spirit and Soul? All of these books goes into this subject matter. I mean, book after book after book goes into these subject matters, right? And this subject matter carries over into the the new books, the actual facts, books that we put out about one opening up their third eye, which is why I talk about it so much, because if we don't learn how to do that, our chances of fighting adverse forces, 60th forces, are basically null and void. We're not going to have the mental power to overcome these forces until we develop our own spiritual, abilities. I can't stress this enough. I'm going to constantly try to talk about it and educate us about the importance of this type of information. So here I'm about to open up. This is another actual facts that we put out, one of the new books. Actual facts number 23. It's called The Gospel of Yanun. On the sacred feminine. You have the masters right here. And this particular scroll is extremely important, okay, because it tries to explain the importance of why you must develop yourself spiritually, what needs to be done about it. Says, and the person's two eyes of sight become linked to the one of beyond physical sight, the nanaz khadat, the pineal gland, and open patar, divine eye, the third eye, the all-seeing eye. And the person begins to use more of their damag, their brain activity, able to see interdimensionally, worlds beyond worlds. See that? When you're able to see interdimensionally, what that means right here, you're able to see into the other density levels. So now, because your third eye, just so you know, when you activate your third eye, it's vibrating on a fourth density level. So you can see into that realm. And you can make contact with the beings that exist on those realms or higher realms, because non-ether beings will drop down to those realms and communicate with you. This is what the master teacher is trying to say. We have those abilities. We have those abilities. That's what's up, Jacob. I appreciate that. That's what's up. So now, let's go back to where we are. So here, let's see. Okay, so now in this book right here, which is the like I said, the Master Secret, I don't know, Actual Facts number 23 talks about opening one's third eye. When you're able to do that, it says that opens you up to time travel, clockwise to future, counterclockwise to past, or to bend space to travel long distances within a moment of time, or then, now, and then, 24 billion miles per moment, the speed of thought. So we have the ability to travel at the speed of thought when you're operating on those at that density level. When you're able to open up your third eye, it gives you access to so many things, amazing things. You become a time traveler first, mentally, or mentally, then physically, as etheric energy transforms inside outward. The ether journey. You are a khatat, the ether body, creates a shield for your physical body so that no cells are disrupted or damaged in your journey through time and space as matter. This is transfiguration. This is shape shifting. This is also a form of astral projection, guys. This is teleportation. It happens as fast as you change your mind. It happens as you think from where you may be to another place, home, or another country. So you can travel with the speed of thought when you're vibrating on those realms, he's saying, right? It happens when you think or remember your childhood or past place and or event in your life. Now all you have to learn how to do now all you have to learn how to do is apply it. Your real inner powers you have yet don't use because of the false beliefs system you've accepted. Most of our people don't believe they can do it. And so as a man, as he or she thinketh, so be it. If you don't think you can do these things, you won't be able to do these things. If you don't think you can do these things, you won't be able to do these things. That's why you have to flood your mind with right knowledge. Because as you flood your mind with right knowledge, then you will begin to understand what you really can do. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe it. You can experience it. And as a scientist, all students of Wu-Sabat are supposed to be scientists. And as a scientist, you're supposed to be putting things to the test. You're supposed to be putting things. That's what a scientist does. They test their theories to see if it's real or not, to see if it's workable or not. You're not supposed to be believing these things. You first have to put to the test. Do you even have a spiritual energy body? I guarantee you do the rituals, you'll find out whether that's true or false. That's what it means. Someone who has the right knowledge, they understand the things they need to do to authenticate something to know whether it's true or false, fact or fiction. So as we used to say, don't talk about it, be about it. Don't talk about it, be about it. Right? This is what our doctrine is trying to teach. It's telling you what you can do. He goes on to say here, your real inner powers you have yet don't use because of the false belief system you accepted. Also, your mind has powers over both gravity and levity, giving you power to levitate and power of levitation of great stones or monoliths. Your Muslafu ancestors had these powers, and you have some of their Yakhasat genes. So, in fact, you have the same powers. Yet, the Hajj, the spell or hypnotic spell 6,000 years ago, cast upon you, have you thinking you don't have them. So, as a man thinketh, so is he or she, right? I just said that. Now I have come in this jasad body to restore all your ancient wisdom if you will only wake up to it. My Karadu, or children, I write this gospel to you so that you will not be ignorant any longer of who you are and what powers you really have. You must first understand the three as one. That is, to you, the then, now, and then, or past, present, and future, as time, matter, and space are in fact all one and the same. Right. So when we say then, we talk about then, like, we'll say something like, that happened then, right? That happened then. You're talking about the past. And then you'll use the word then. Well, we're going to go to the store. Then we're going to go to the mall. See that? That's the future. And then you have the now. And this is what the master teacher is trying to get us to understand. How we can exist in the then of the past, exist in the then of the future, and exist in the now. We have these abilities if we would just open up to it. And if you're a Sabian, that means you're supposed to be a scientist. And as a scientist, you're supposed to be putting things to the test. This is not religion. You're not waiting for no God. You're not waiting for no Jesus. You're not waiting for no Mahdis and no Muhammads and no whatever. Religion teaches that. Wait. Just wait. Wait for something to come save you. You have the power to save yourself. We call it black magic. But you have to give up white magic so that you can inherit black magic. This is key. But we have to acknowledge it. So he says, as your soul, body, spirit, all three are one. Birth, growth, death, all three are the same. So in fact, there, here, and there are the same place and time. Up, here, and down is the same. The secret of three as one and the same. You are a three-dimensional being ready to experience the fourth you, or etheric you, guys. 9 to the ninth power of 9, or 999, overpowers calculation in math, guys. So understand, 9 stands for space, 9 stands for time, and 9 stands for matter. That's why it's 999, and that is the level of intellect of a Nagato. We have the ability to tap into universal mind. There is no other race on the planet that can do that. The Asiatic races, their level of intellect goes up to 666. And the Mukasu only goes up to 333, which is materialism. That's why the Mukasu is stuck on the third dimension, right? So their mind is 333 because they're trapped in the third density, right? 3 for space, 3 for matter, and 3 for time. This is the third density realm, and they're locked here. That's why the materialism, and they want us to be locked here with them. But we have the power of the 9 mind if we use it. But if you don't use it, you lose it, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. That's the old saying. That's the saying go. It's a very true statement. And that's why we can't use, that's why we don't know how to use our 9 mind or our spiritual powers, because we don't use our 9 mind that gives us our spiritual powers. If you don't use it, you lose it. I can say that all day. If you don't use, we need to make a song about it. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. And we unfortunately, these abilities are dormant. But like anything else, they can be reactivated. Like anything else, they can be reactivated. Right? So it goes on to say, know your third eye or pineal gland in the center of your brain between the two halves of your gateway. Once you learn how to activate it, it produces your melatonin. The master's secret, which is the secret of your divine being. Master of time is the pine or owl gland, or Nanas Kawais, the pine cone. The pine cone he shows here. An evergreen tree with cones and needles shaped leaves, penal body or Latin pena, a small cone shaped body in the brain that produces a hormone. On this subject, there is much more to know at the right time to the right ones of you only. Note, the Anunnaki always hold up a pine cone. So he's showing the pine cone that represents the pineal gland, guys. It's in the artworks, right? This is in the artworks. This is in a Masonic caduce with the pine cone. You see that pine cone, guys? This is ancient Sumerian and Egyptian hieroglyphic, a staff with the pine cone. See that picture? And that represents the third eye. He goes on to say, my children, Sabaeans, Yanun, in this my gospel, I'm not writing for you a new doctrine, he says, right? Yet an old one, the same I taught from 1970, which some of you had since the beginning of beginnings, guys. This old doctrine is the secret blog message you have heard. Yet I am again writing it as a new message, for its time has come. Its swab truth can be seen in you with Yanunism, Wu-Sabat, as of 2000, here after time, guys. And so, as you know, this is what I said. That's why I was talking about reading the old scrolls can help you comprehend better the new scrolls. Reading the older scrolls can help you comprehend better reading the new scrolls, because they're just an update. One is an update from the other, and it's to give you more clarity, more reasonability. You know, I can't stress that enough. More clarity, more reasonability. Remember, our ultimate goal is spiritual development. This is how we fight the disagreeable ones. So is there anything, I'm reading the question again. Is there anything wrong with violence, since it seems that being forceful is the only way to get a response? Answer: there's nothing wrong with violence for liberty and equality if you have a chance to win, but there's no chance without non-ether spirit forces, black magic, to counteract the adverse forces and show you the way to liberty and equality amongst self and kind. You cannot see the way until the mind's eye is opened. The soul you, the God you. Read the many scrolls distributed by the ancient Egyptian order. Its principles will open the mind's eye, guys. So I stress these things because this is how we fight this war we're at. People are trying to figure out, how do we do battle with the beast? It's right here in our doctrine. The master teacher, this is why he's called the savior, because he's the one with the salvation information. No one else is teaching this, because no one else knows these things. No one else knows that we have access to a higher level of consciousness, a higher mind, our oversoul, our ancestors who will give us assistance and guidance the same way the master teacher is doing it. The master teacher is on earth as a master giving us guidance, and we have spiritual masters in the higher realms who also would give you guidance and assistance. I can't stress these things enough. So I say, study these right knowledge scrolls. Don't read the right knowledge scrolls. Study these scrolls. Analyze it word for word, sentence by sentence. Try to really understand what we're trying to teach. I say this because I really feel that so many students are not doing this. They're not seeing the power within these scrolls. It took me years to really begin to comprehend these things. I don't think it should have if we were working collectively, like meaning I didn't have the benefit of brothers doing classes like this, trying to go through the doctrine, word for word, analyzing the different things that we're trying to say and go over what these things mean. I'm doing it today, but I didn't have the benefit of old elder brothers who were in the doctrine when I came in to try to help me the way I'm trying to help, anyone who listens to me. Like I said, we're in this together. I'm on this journey just like everyone else. We're in this together. So what else we say? So he goes on to say, where are we at here? So question, what is the solution to our problem? Answer, there is no solution to the problems and miserable conditions of a people anywhere unless you have a solution that is workable everywhere. So Amin Nibu Re'e Akakta Atum Re, also known as Dr. Malachi Z. York, a reincarnation of the Nathar Tahuti, offer all people a do-it-yourself solution. A do-it-yourself solution until you get strong and united enough mentally to do what you must do together physically. All of you can work diligently with determination toward eliminating the negative slave mentality. Guys, our people are negative, and we have the slave mind. What is the slave mind? The slave mind is working for the Mukasu and never figuring out how we can get away from serving them. We have to work for them, right? We got to buy food. We got to pay for shelter. We need clothing, right? We got to take care of ourselves. They control every freaking thing. But we're supposed to be working with the mindset on how we're going to free ourselves. Most of our people never even think about it. All they think about, this is what they're going to do for the rest of their life. They're going to retire and that's it. And they're going to get old and die. That's the slave mind. The slave mind has no ambition to become independent of foreigners. I repeat, the slave mind has no ambition to become independent of foreigners. That was the goal of slavery, to make us dependent on their stuff. They kidnapped us, took us away from our way of doing things. They forced us into their way of doing things, and they got us permanently thinking like it's okay to keep serving them. Just as long as they give us a check, like LeBron James, as long as I make $1 billion, I'm okay. The point is, Oprah Winfrey still gets a check. Michael Jordan still gets a check. That's the problem. Somebody else is cutting you a check. Mukasu, because he controls the banks. That's the slave mind we keep talking about. And we're negative, meaning the negative mind is always talking about we can't do this, we can't do that. That's not going to happen. The white man going to let you do this. He ain't going to. That's the negative mind. Always talking about what you cannot do. Well, I can't deal with this person. I can't deal with that. That's why I say that quote. What's that quote? I say, that we say in our intro, in our principles, right? It says the negative mind talks of what it can't and will not do for self and kind, always complaining about who they don't like or trust, whereas the positive mind always maintains the peace by not complaining about that in which it do not like, but focus on finding solution to their problems, never allowing obstacles to get in the way of growth, guys. That's the negative mind. Always, what it can't do. Doubting. We're non-ether beings, man. There's amazing things we can really do if we really begin to understand what our capabilities are. And you won't really understand your capabilities if you're not studying the right knowledge. That's why you have to really, really focus on studying the words of right knowledge. What we're really trying to teach, what the master, how he's really trying to open your eyes. If we really understood the difference between, like what our ancestors teach is animism, and we understand what the Mukasu have confirmed, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and you understand the difference between the two and the similarities between the two concepts, then you will understand the real powers we had. Guys, if you research ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, right? If you really research, your ancestors did some miraculous things. Well, guys, you see the pyramids? Mukasa don't know how we did that. That's why they don't want to give us credit. It's like Negroes aren't smart enough to build things like that. No, the Negro isn't, but the Sabaean is. There's a big difference between the Negro and the Sabaean. You know, the Sabaean has the God mind. The Negro has the slave mind. That's what we keep saying. You know? But one has to decide. What side of the corner we're going to be on? The side of the slave mind or the side of the God mind? Is up to you. It's up to each and every one of us to decide what we're going to be, who we're going to be. You have the power within. The key is to use that power. And again, you know, this is why we do these discussions, right? These classes, so that we can, you know, help one another. You know, I'm always telling you guys to ask questions, you know, to get the conversation going towards these concepts. You know, it's about, you cannot forget, the goal is for your own spiritual development. This is the point. You must develop yourself spiritually. Our goal is to help each other achieve that goal. Our goal is to help each other achieve that goal. The master teacher came here as our spiritual guide for that purpose. The master teacher came here as our spiritual guide for that purpose, to guide us on how to develop ourselves spiritually. And he's giving us details step by step on what to do. So we go on to say here, we're still in the right knowledge in the what is a NoopooH scroll. It says adverse forces are inciting people, and these incidents are at an all-time high. This is what I refer to as invisible adverse forces. It's unfortunate that there is racism because no one wins the race in racism. If you have free minds, you will do free things. If you have equal minds to other members of your race, you will do equal things. Think equal or greater than other races, because mental capacity as incarnations of the original creative forces are greater than that of others, meaning ours, right? Right? Ours. This is the key. Our spirit forces is greater than others. This is very important to understand this, guys, because we are incarnations of original creative forces. That's non-ether, are greater than that of others. Once your minds break from prison, freedom requires a free mind, and the responsibilities of a free mind. Equality requires an equal mind, and the responsibilities of an equal mind. Okay, I'll read that again. Freedom requires a free mind, and the responsibilities of a free mind. Equality requires an equal mind, and the responsibilities of an equal mind. Right? This is about raising your consciousness, knowing what your powers are, knowing what your potential is. You have to believe in yourself before you know what you can do. It says universal knowledge called NoopooH informs you, the new beings, that there were three creations: the original or primary creation. Second was the evolution or secondary creation, and ghostational or tertiary creation. Primary creation was performed by nine ether, whose science is NoopooH. Nine ether is the combination of all existing gases of nature. Thus, the all is in all. Nothing anywhere can be as powerful as all existing gases. Therefore, nine ether is the most potent power in the universes. 9 to the ninth power of 9. Now add it up without a supercomputer. It would take a lifetime to find out the sum. 9 is a very meaningful number. It is symbolic of heaven, hell, creation, and birth. 9 is a number whose square root is 3. A number which is symbolic of the 3 dimensions. Hika, which is the abode of mortals. Sia, the abode of the Elohim or the Nathar. And Hu-Hi, the abode of the creative force, or that A. And that goes back to the smack circle, the 3 abodes, right? Nupu is the abode of the creative force, Hu-Hi. Okay, this is primary creation, was Nupu. Sia is the abode of the Nathar. They start at the 4th dimension and go up the 4th realm. And Hika, the realm of magic, is the earth realm, the material realm. The reason why we call it magic, because for those who know, they know that everything in the material realm is made of energy, and energy can be manipulated. And our ancestors knew how to alter matter, because all matter is energy vibrating on different frequencies. These are the things we used to know. This is how we, again, going back to animism, that animism taught that everything was energy. Everything was a living force, a morphic resonant force. And we knew how to manipulate those forces. We knew how to manipulate stones and different types of material. This is how we was able to build those magnificent monuments, the pyramids, the temples we built, the sanctuaries we built. And and we built in harmony or in connection with nature. Remember, all of our temples and monuments were aligned with the solar bodies, with star constellations and planets. So, we're dealing with a very high science that we had. And it's embedded in our DNA, guys. It's in our genes. This knowledge is embedded in your genes. That's why we say Wu-Sabat is a genetic doctrine. And looking at the right knowledge scroll here, because we was looking at the what is NoopooH, and that's a very profound scroll. As I keep saying, all must read it, all must study it, as much as all of the other scrolls, the 4 that I highly recommend taking your time to analyze what we're teaching in these particular scrolls. The wisdom is profound. The wisdom is profound. It's just, it's beyond, as I like to say. Question: this is the right knowledge scroll. This is part 2. What is the spell of sleep that was cast upon blacks, Nubians or Pathites or Cushites, Egyptians or Moors, the children of the Elohim, the Anunnaki or the Natharu? We had to say we're the children of the Nathar, right? What is this spell all about? Answer: it is called a evil hypnotic spell of amnesia, called the spell of sleep. Imam, Leviathan, amnesia, guys. We forgot our origins. You go all throughout Africa, our people forgot. They forgot the science of Wu-Sabat. We used to know. We forgot. And we don't even want to embrace. That's why we try to teach this to our people. So many of our people reject it because they don't comprehend it. If it's not coming from the Caucasian, they don't want to listen to you. If you don't have the credentials of the Caucasian, did you go to their schools? What kind of degree do you have? Who was your teacher? What science did you study? This is the slave mind. Everything goes back to the Mukaso. This is how we judge stuff. We use the Mukaso as a measuring tool for intelligence. I know why we do it. You know, the cars, the TVs, the cell phones, all of the things that the Mukaso seems to create. It creates a sense of awe in our mind that they're great. And that's why people do it. But guys, if y'all would just study your history, your origins, the pyramids are the example that you come from greatness, that we come from high intelligence. I don't know why our people can't reason that out. Again, that's why we said we lost our sound reasoning. Because they got our people thinking that Egypt is not Africans and Egypt is in Africa. All you gotta do is listen to the Mukaso all the time. They'll say the Egyptians did this and the Egyptians did that. And they say, yeah, but the Africans, and they'll say, and the Africans. Wait a minute. Is Egypt in Africa or not? They hate saying Egyptians are Africans. They don't want to say it because they know when you say African, what that really means. They talk about light to dark skinned people with woolly hair. But they don't want to give you that kind of credit because then they would have to admit you come from an advanced culture. You come from a high science. And they want to admit that. But how can they deny it when it's a fact that so-called Nubia, we talked about this before, had the same culture as so-called Egyptian? They can't deny that Nubia, aka Kush, was African. They can't deny that. So all you gotta do is study British history, French history and culture, American history and culture. All of it comes from Rome. All of it comes from Rome. So even if you want to say that the so-called Nubians learned from the Egyptians, so freaking what? The same way the British learned from the Romans and they built their culture up. It's the same culture, same people. So again, it says, answer, it is called a hypnotic spell of amnesia called the spell of sleep, a man, Leviathan, that was cast upon all the blacks, the Nubians, the Pataites, the Ethiopians, the Cushites. These are all our names, guys. And the original Egyptians, the Moors, the woolly-haired people, 6,000 years ago, at the beginning of the first moon cycle of 6,000 years with the creation of white magic. White magic is six ethers, spirit forces, ghosts, white, vapor, or gas. The spiritual part of it is called Seh, or religion. It is a spell of spiritual ignorance and worship of white ghost spirits called God. It is a spell of spiritual ignorance and racial blindness. For 6,000 years, our people have been in a coma state, amnesia, asleep of the conscious mind, lost in blind faith and beliefs with no facts and confirmations, outright ignorance to who they are. The powers of this spell are enforced by fake religious books and white supremacy propaganda that is put out by religions such as Mosesism, Judaism, Christianism, which is Christianity, and Mohammedism, which is Islam. The original religious books that were in their original language and form were destroyed. The Hebrew Torah or Bible and the Arabic Quran of today have been altered by disagreeable forces and have you living off a blind faith. They have mistakes in them, and just because these scriptures are written in Hebrew or Arabic doesn't make them right. And how can Allah or God make mistakes, guys? Though their scriptures have a lot of mistakes in them, especially the translations are all wrong. They purposely mistranslate, and that's the problem, because they know people are not going to research the language because they didn't teach the people to do that. That's why most of our people who are religious don't even care to study the original languages to find out what those Bibles say, those scriptures say. This is the problem. That's the spell of ignorance that we keep talking about. So where are we at? So this is, like I said, this is part 2 of the um Right Knowledge series books, and this one is actually titled The Right Knowledge. And it's really, really, really profound. This passage here is important. It says, in the process of casting the spell, here's the key, guys. What the spell did, it's good was made to look evil, and evil was made to look good. They made dark, peace, tranquility look and seem bad, and fire or lightning, explosions, and light look and seem good. So white people look good and black people look bad, making it easy to accept a white God and a son of God. They were able to control you so well because you actually breathe with them and have gotten into your blood, which gives you the desire to want to be like them, and doesn't allow you to hate them or love yourself. It makes it harder, but not impossible, to awaken from under the spell of self-hate. Then they create the Bible and books with all of these white or ghost man pictures for you and your children. They they make and have made movies about Bible stories. All the Mukasu people, from Jesus to angels. Plus, you have Michelangelo's drawing of God's hand and Adam, both are white. This is all a part of it. Muslims did the same thing in an Islamic movie about Muhammad and his companions, all white pictures. It's all religious racism to control you mentally. So you would continue to follow them blindly without question. So so not to alarm the sleeping God within the true Tamarian. You see, it's all about image. If I'm running after the image of other than self and kind, I cannot imagine ever the image of self and kind. So they cannot allow any positive black images in the highest positions of this society. Those that are there have something wrong with their character, or if they don't have something wrong, they will character assassinate them, so that the accusation is always in the back of your mind, right? Like Barack Obama was born in Kenya. Barack Obama born in Kenya. Barack Obama is a Muslim. Barack Obama, they had all kinds of stuff about Barack Obama. They had the character assassinate the guy to make him look bad, seem bad. They don't want you to have any positive black images. They're always going to destroy it. They can't help themselves, because that's unfortunately their nature, is to cause confusion. This is what they do. That's why I was listening to a news report about, what's that guy, Mark Lamont Hill. You know, he bothers me sometimes. He's an ex-student, but he gives some good reports. I can't deny that. News reports. And he was talking about the war that's going on with Russia and Ukraine, right? And then making it white people, he talks about how white governments are making such a big thing about the atrocities of the war, the suffering of the Ukrainian people, and how hard it is for them, and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. And people need to feel sorry for them, and they need support, and they need this, while doing all that, ignoring all the other issues, all the other sufferings that people are dealing with. Like, he brought up the fact that there are girls in Nigeria who were kidnapped, who they're trying to find these whatever they are, these raiders who kidnap these people. People are suffering in different places in the world, but yet all of a sudden it's a big thing when a white nation is suffering. It's the hypocrisy of it all. And listen, guys, I don't really care. Because that's white people. They have the right to worry about their own. The problem becomes black is us. We're so busy Worrying about what white people are doing, we forget what we are doing and how we can help each other. This is the problem. You know, you got Haiti trying to become a member of the African Union, and the African Union denied Haiti. Why? Why? What sense does that make? This is the problem. We won't support one another. Europeans support each other all the time. But as Africans, we have this issue, this divide issue, and that's the self-hate they built into us. You know? And it obviously religion was the biggest weapon they used. And these right knowledge scrolls go into this concept extremely, well. These points are, are extremely, how can I say it? Explained in our doctrine. But I'm just trying to show you, as I try to do all the time, the power of right knowledge and what it can do. We don't have to wait for anyone to save us. We have been saved with the actual facts, with this information, salvation information, as we talk about. Question: can you free yourself? Answer: it is difficult trying to unite people physically without first uniting them mentally. If you, Nawapians, blacks, can achieve mental unity, you are automatically united physically because a person talks and acts the way that he or she thinks. Hence, the results of ignorant thoughts are ignorant words and ignorant works. If the minds of this kind are enslaved, then that kind of mind is enslaved no matter where it may be, guys. If the minds of this kind are free, the physical person or persons are free or will soon be free because the mind is the control and thereby determines the course the person or persons will take. When the mind is out of order, the person is out of order. When the minds of a nation are divided, the physical persons are divided. Question: what is common sense? Common sense is common knowledge, meaning knowledge that all people will understand, accept, and unite their minds. This knowledge is called right knowledge. The first step in right knowledge is called NoopooH. There can be no mental unity as long as a spell of Leviathan or spiritual ignorance is upon you. NoopooH is the right knowledge, the right wisdom, and the right understanding, sound right reasoning. NoopooH is the science of the 9 ether beings, the Wapians, the blacks, the Nubians, the Egyptian Moors, effective spiritual science, black magic. The Patamhu, or the ghost man or ghost people, the 6 ether evil spirit beings, also have a science that is the total opposite of what NoopooH is all about. It is called Wahoa, which tells them how to destroy and to disrupt. Question: when the spell is broken, what will become of you? Answer: when the destruction of the spell is complete, you as black people will have a free and united mind. A free mind means free mental activity. You will be in charge and in control of all of your faculties and destinies as in the times past. If you take control of your destiny, you will regain your manhood and your womanhood, your place as God man and God woman, which was stripped from you through subliminal seduction and the mass media. Teach your children yourselves about yourselves. Let me say that again. Teach your children yourselves about yourselves. I'll do that one more time, guys. Teach your children yourselves about yourselves. Okay? This and only this will reestablish your connection with the forces of nature as the chosen people of this planet Earth, but only when you accept yourself and kind, not man's kind or a kind of man. For the divine is a torch that burns inside of you, ignited by the right knowledge. I hope you get that, because those are some profound statements there, guys. Question: how can right knowledge liberate you? How can right knowledge liberate you? Answer: right knowledge organizes and unifies the minds of Nubians, or the new beings, the Tamarian, Egyptian, the Moors, called black people, or Negroes, or African Americans, and others individually and collectively. So right knowledge, puts our mind, right, in harmony individually, and it put our minds in harmony collectively, guys. Okay. In order to put the mind in order and unity, the knowledge received must be in an organized sequence, which is the right knowledge. That I, Amanubi Ra'akta Atumre, as your savior, am putting forth in these scrolls. These scrolls will teach you a full understanding of what and how black magic is for black people, and how the Tamhu, or ghost man, has made black magic sound evil because they fear it. You are black and have miraculous powers, and whenever you learn to use them again, it will clear the fog of the ghost people, and your single eye will reopen, guys. Saphira, which is clairvoyance, meaning clear vision, will return, and you will see again. The right knowledge is controlled by the forces of nature, or the forces of nine ether that grew all the universes. The Wapians, blacks, have a natural connection to these forces of nature. The highest form of nature was called El Roy in the Bible, meaning the ones who see all. From the Aramic word Ra'ah and the Ashuratic word Ra'ah, which means to see. So again, as we keep saying the same thing over and over, right? If you want the restoration of your liberation, your freedom, your power, you have the power. It's within you. If you do the spiritual work, if you learn to develop yourself spiritually and open your third eye, as I keep saying, it's possible. It's not impossible. It's possible. You have to see yourself as a scientist and start doing experiments on yourself. Do the work. Put the time in it. Make the time. Think about what the potentials of your success is. Imagine that. What we're saying your potential is. What you can do. What you'll be able to do. You know, we say be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. You have the power within. As we always taught, the journey is within. Be the one. You know, there's nothing more important than you taking control, not waiting. Remember, religion taught us to wait on something or someone. That something and someone came in the body of Panabab Yananun, and he gave us salvation information, salvation knowledge. So the ball is in our court. He did everything he could possibly do to raise us up. The question is, what are we going to do with all this divine knowledge we have, all these facts we have? Take your time and authenticate the knowledge for yourself within yourself. That's why I do the classes, to try to help people, comprehend these concepts, for all of us to have a meeting of the minds, so that we all can come to these conclusions. We all agree. We all should be agreeing. This is important. I can't stress this enough. Because once we do come to the conclusion, as we keep saying, we'll start doing things collectively together. We are forced to reckon with, unified. They know this. They fear that. The power is within. So again, I stress reading through these books, studying these books word for word by word. These right knowledge scrolls will assist you on your journey towards righteousness. You have our true roots. I know we're about that time, guys. We're about to chime out, but I just want to stress the significance and importance, of these particular scrolls and your edification and your goal towards salvation, your goal towards liberation. These books are designed specifically for that, right? It's for that objective, I should say. Our true roots. Question: do we need human rights? Answer: what could be more insulting to yourselves as a people than to think that another race of people do not even have who are not even full humans, but these mortals of the seed of the serpent, Apep, Apophis, can grant you the right to be a human? You are children of the Most High, the Natharu, or that a supreme being, or that a person can give you human rights, and they're not even human. The Hindus are the first humans. Obviously, a black leader who brings such a subject into the open would be the same black leader that would say by any means necessary, but put in a poster, distribute it, and misinform the public into thinking that it was a black thing, when in actuality, that very statement was made against a black organization called the Nation of Islam by Malcolm X, an ex-member, right? Don't believe me? Check it out. Point being here is that they use that slogan today. But they kind of mischaracterized that slogan, because Malcolm X was, he was talking about defending himself against the Nation of Islam, because I believe he was getting death threats. Now, I don't know if it was from the nation or not, but he was getting death threats. And he was going to defend himself by any means necessary. But what the master teacher is trying to say is they use that slogan today as if it applies to the Mukasu. And so he's saying you're taking it out of context. Point being is that we ask for things that's so weird. Like the Black Lives Matter movement. I get it. But really? You're going to talk to the people who have been killing us for 500 years that our life matters to them? Our lives need to matter to us. Us. People will give you respect when you show yourself respect. Respect yourself first, and others will respect you. If you act like a slave, you will be treated as a slave. If you act like a slave, you will be treated as a slave. Never forget that, guys. And this is what we close out with. If you continue to act like a slave, you will continue to be treated as a slave. So I say this right knowledge will liberate you if you choose to accept it word for word by word. Understand how you can apply it in your day-to-day actions. That is the key. Learn to understand how you can apply it in your day-to-day actions. That is the key. And with that, we sign out and we do our prayer today that we end with. our 9 o'clock prayer. For all those who do not know, we have our prayer rituals 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 p.m. for our own spiritual development. We have our prayer rituals at 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 p.m. for our spiritual development. Let's begin. Bade Kalal Namasat Wufad Ko Amer Kasamun Shalal Pu'ut. For those who don't know what that means, Bade means begin, Kalal, all, Namasat, prayers. Wu means ed, Fad Ko means thinking. Amer means as, Kasamun means a part of. A part of. Shalil means of. Kasem Shalil means a part of, and Pu'ut is the creative force. So I say Bade Kalau Namasat Wufad Kor Amad Kasem Un Shalal Pu'ut. It says begin all prayer and thinking as a part of the creative force, guys. Begin all your prayers and thinking that you're connected to the creative force. This is how you tap into the divine mind when you realize you are connected to creation. Put your mind there. That's why we teach in meditation, go into the blackness. Connect with the forces. These are creation forces. You can tap into that. It's a divine mind. And through the science of meditation, this is how we tap into it. So I say again, Bade Kalal Namasat Wufad Kor Amad Kasemun Shalal Pu'ut Pa Takyud Anuki Jawef Pa Ashuk Impa Pu'ut Wu Kalat Ashuk Kawun Jawefnia Anuki Kasaman Impa Pu'ut Wu Pa Pu'ut Kawun Kasaman Imnia Anuki Wahu Amapa Pu'ut Wu Pa Pu'ut Kawun Wahu Amahnia Naku Kador Naju Amah Kasaman Impa Pu'ut Wu Khabu Amah Muskasun Naku Kador Kawan Kalab Afaf Naku Daya Jawep Pa Pu'ut Amah Wase Amah Dayani Kawun Lake Bakui Jawep Pa Pu'ut Anuki Yababi Nafasti Pa Pu'ut Kawun Anuki Pa Pu'ut Kador Naku Kador Pa Pu'ut Amu Naku Amu Lahehum Manahnu Lahehum Manahnu Ahum at the Korehum Ahum at the Korekum Ahum at the Korenun Ahum at the Jawefnia Ahum at the Nia Wu Anuki Hum Yaye Ashuk Re'e Asmua Jayenun Yaye Notaru Afuknun Anun at the Mukre Ukum Yaye Notaru Afuknun Afuknun Yaye Notaru Nun Anun Atun Atun Amun Namazo Wahu Yaye Mufaku Yayehu Yaye Notaru Yaye Soye Yaye Notaru Yaye Hika Yaye Notaru Ankum at the Pa Mufaku Yayehu Yaye Notaru Ankum at the Pa Mufaku Wu Anu at the Mukra Ukum Wu Ankum at the Musanun Yayehu Yaye Notaru Aro Muklasnum Atum Re'e Yayehu Yaye Notaru Namazo Afto Aron Hu Yaye Mukdamu Afudun Ankum Mana Yakela Duda Muslafu Nun Wu Musar Nun Mana Yaka Sawuda Paba Mana Yaka Kawudan Ka'u Mana Yaka Ata Akak Mana Yaka Kawudan Bashar Wu Damam Yaye Natar Mukdamu Nun Aro Muftad Nun Anhu Kawun Mazar Mana Pa Nataru Aro Anhu Anhu Kawun Baba Yananan Aro Anhu Anhu Kawun Atum Re'e Aro Anhu Kawun Haro Namazo Talu Yaye Nataru Muslafu Nun Afud Nun Mana Pa Mujwa'u Afud Nun Mana Gal Ha'an Yaye Nataru Afud Nun Mana Sayah Khayara Afud Nun Afudniya afutnia, ya ye no toro nun, namazo rabo pa takmui. Na kuk talub takmui bi pa no toro, mane pa la en la wi tenen u, kale ranam atni at the lehe pa no toro, wu kale namazo atni at the lehe kiyat yatun la ye pa no toro, pa sawa wu pa toro. Panem is fa kawun, pa sawa wu pa toro. Z kawuna nazula lahe en kun, manem is bad wu masa. Amade en wu damal manem muslafu kun, wu nataru. Ajula ye nafasu kun, afuk shene kawun kun, pa sawa wu pa toro. Pa hadean wu pa damal, en nun tawo en kun, lehe penen damal wu shafe, en nun tawo en kun, lehe tim nasui nun, en nun tawo en kun, lehe ashukuma, en kum ata muslafu nun, en nun ata mukrao kun, en nun talub nasa kuma, en nun talub nasa kuma, en so nun kahen taru, en so nun muslafu nun, en nun ata muspatu, anun, atum, atum, amun. Ya ye na taru nun. Ya ye mufta'u, ya ye nataru, ya ye atum re, ya ye natar, ya ye nun, ya ye natar, ya ye nun tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye ha, ya ye natar, ya ye ha tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye kak, ya ye natar, ya ye kak tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye amun, ya ye natar, ya ye amun tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye atum, ya ye natar, ya ye shishash, ya ye natar, ya ye tafafna tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye sabat, ya ye natar, ya ye natat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye arashtat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye asar, ya ye natar, ya ye nabata hatat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye satak, ya ye natar, ya ye hara, ya ye natar, ya ye hatwi, ya ye natar, ya ye anaktat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye aha haratwi, ya ye natar, ya ye nafartub, ya ye natar, ya ye mantu, ya ye natar, ya ye bapti, ya ye natar, ya ye sakabtat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye hata haratat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye baibes, ya ye natar, ya ye patata, ya ye natar, ya ye basastat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye ibhatap, ya ye natar, ya ye hu, ya ye natar, ya ye matat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye mahart, ya ye natar tat, ya ye kafaf re'e, ya ye natar, ya ye mishkirat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye re'e tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye chitimitiu, ya ye natar, ya ye hika, ya ye natar tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye ma'at, ya ye the third tot, ya ye renan tot, ya ye the third tot, ya ye she, ya ye the third tot, ya ye sashat, ya ye the third tot, ya ye mafdat, ya ye the third tot, Ya Ye Sabak, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Adab, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Khadu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Khadas, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Patatanu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Soye, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Haktat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Abbas, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Sadatwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya ye atu re'e, ya ye the thar tat, ya ye the hutwi, ya ye the thar, ya ye patata warat, ya ye the thar tat, ya ye sakar tat, ya ye the thar tat, ya ye ha, ya ye the thar, ya ye the heb ka'a, ya ye the thar, ya ye sakar, ya ye the thar, ya ye ba'a, ya ye the thar, ya ye akar, ya ye the thar, Ya ye ibharatat, ya ye the tharatat, ya ye wapawatat, ya ye the tharatat, ya ye sakhat hataptat, ya ye the tharatat, ya ye beritat sakartat, ya ye the tharatat, ya ye soyetat, ya ye the tharatat, ya ye karatat, ya ye the tharatat, ya ye asaidu, ya ye the thar, ya ye bahatat, ya ye the tharatat, Ya ye chadeb tat, ya ye the thar tat, ya ye badak tat, ya ye the thar tat, ya ye chabeb, ya ye the thar, ya ye mahatwi, ya ye the thar, ya ye kabefsedet afaf, ya ye the thar, ya ye damatat afaf, ya ye the thar, ya ye berdi tat, ya ye the thar tat, ya ye nasat, ya ye the thar, ya ye ibdadat tat, ya ye the thar tat, Ya ye the kakpatat, ya ye the thar tat, ya ye sakatat, ya ye the thar tat, ya ye adaktat, ya ye the thar tat, ya ye the dad, ya ye the thar, ya ye tu, ya ye the thar, ya ye wahoo, ya ye the thar, ya ye yasas, Ya ye the thar, Ya ye adach, Ya ye the thar, Ya ye afterwit, Ya ye the thar, Ya ye satat, Ya ye the thar tat, Ya ye sachatwi, Ya ye the thar, Ya ye ibaat, Ya ye the thar, Ya ye the da, Ya ye the thar, Ya ye imnuit, Ya ye the thar, Ya ye imsatatwi, Ya ye the thar, Ya ye mudaltat, Ya ye the thar tat, Ya ye Rahashafaf, Ya ye Nathar, Ya ye Maratwi, Ya ye Nathar, Ya ye Abud Re'e, Ya ye Nathar, Yehu, and Nun. Atha Kaleh Jawef Pa'ut. Gender 4, guys. Okay. Whew. That was great. And as we always say, it is so important when it comes to doing, the prayers, the rituals for your own spiritual development. This is the key towards open one's third eye, becoming aware of one's spiritual senses, within. This is the job, this is the mission, this is the goal. And until then, we wish you guys much peace. We wish you guys much blessings, much happiness, much content, and be strong because we're in this together. We're in this together. I do.